All right, this video is relevant if you're doing rookie drafts or startup drafts.
Yep.
And what we really want to tackle today is 4 running back handcuffs that we feel like you absolutely need to have in Dynasty. Now, these are all rookie players, okay?
Correct.
So there's more obvious ones out there potentially. But if you're doing your rookie drafts and your startup drafts, maybe these are players that we should be targeting to handcuff our current starter, okay? These are all rookies. I'll go first. My first handcuff is Brian Robinson.
Big B.
Okay. Now, firstly, in my eyes, Antonio Gibson is by far the more talented running back in this backfield. Okay. I remember, obviously, we just released a video on Antonio Gibson this week, but before the draft, Badake, you and I, we both said that we thought Antonio Gibson was more talented than any running back outside of Breece Hall in this class. So from a talent perspective, I am not worried about Brian Robinson. However, he will have an important role. That's obvious to me.
Okay.
But I just wanted to clarify. Okay, so Brian Robinson, I do think his role will be important. I'm not saying that because he's not talented, he won't have a role. He will have a role, and he is talented. You know where I'm coming from. But let's talk about this. Why do I feel like if I own Antonio Gibson, I need Brian Robinson? Number one is Antonio Gibson's injury history. All right. In 2020, as a rookie, we saw Antonio Gibson miss 2 games because of that toe injury. I don't know if you guys remember, but he was about to break 1,000 yards. He was about to probably put up 12, 13 touchdowns on the ground. And then that toe injury really kept him out. That was really right after that Dallas game where he put up 3 touchdowns. And then last year in 2021, he dealt with a stress fracture in his shin for most of the season, if not all of the season. And then there was also another toe injury at the end of the year last year. So while I believe that Gibson is by far the better talent, I do think that Brian Robinson is a reason why they brought him in is because they want a reliable backup. They want a reliable handcuff who can also play a role. When I look at this split, by the way, I see it as a 55-35-10. 55% of the snaps are going to Gibson, 35 are going to Brian Robinson, and 10 to J.D. McKissic. So J.D. McKissic and Brian Robinson's roles, that could be a little bit more different, but I think Gibson still gets the 55%. Okay. So Brian will play a role, but I really think that they looked at 2 things. The first one, like I said, was Antonio Gibson's injury history. They said, we need someone we can rely on, down the stretch. Yeah. The second thing they looked at is Antonio Gibson's fumble history. In 2020, as a rookie, it wasn't really a problem, but last year, Gibson fumbled the ball 6 times. And while I don't foresee this being an issue going forward, I do think that it's at least something that they've thought about. Hey, let's get another running back in here. If there is fumble issues, maybe we can start to split that workload a little bit more.
Like a little punishment.
Again,
like if he fumbles, he's like, you know what?
Yeah,
take a little break.
Maybe.
It's a mental thing potentially.
I don't think Ron is that kind of head coach, but maybe, maybe just to bring in a reliever. But if you look at Brian Robinson, he fumbled the ball 3 times in 5 years at Alabama. And last year, as the workhorse running back, where he got the most touches, he only fumbled the ball once. So he's been relatively reliable. And the last thing I'll talk about is Brian Robinson's upside. He can lead a backfield if he needs to. Now, do I think he's a franchise running back? Do I think he's a game changer? No. But he can lead a backfield if need be. So if, let's say, Antonio Gibson does go down, then midseason, if you have Antonio Gibson, you want Brian Robinson because he can step in and have a top 15 week. That is a very realistic possibility for a guy like Brian Robinson.
Right.
Now, with all 3 of those guys there, Brian probably takes the backseat in my opinion. But still, if Gibson is injured, then you got Brian Robinson on your team, and he probably can present top 15 upside. More realistic top 20, but still there's a lot of opportunities there. And at Bama, he showed that he was able to handle a lot of touches. So again, not panicking on Gibson, but I think this is a strategy play if you own him or if you plan on drafting him in a startup.
Right.
And I don't think it's going to cost you all that much. In rookie drafts, I'm happy to draft him anywhere in the 3rd round. In startup drafts, I expect him to go around 13 or so. So maybe if you own Gibson, round 12, you should maybe start thinking about it. And in trades, again, I only think it will take a mid-3rd rounder, to be honest. I don't think it's going to take much more than that. So Brian Robinson, someone that if I own Gibson, I would like to have on my team.
Yeah, I think with everything that's happening, I think everyone feels like it has to be Brian Robinson. We're going to see what happens. I'm more on the side where he's going to get more like 40, Gibson 45, Brian Robinson 40, and the rest goes to JD. But we'll definitely see. My first handcuff is Hassan Haskins going to the Tennessee Titans to back up the King. And the King has fallen. He's fell. He's fell before. We saw this past year. He missed 9 games. He was injured. But what's interesting that they went 6-3. And like when I was looking at this, I was like, okay, who is needed here? And I'm not saying Derrick Henry is not needed, because my guy is different, okay? But
he is the team.
Yes, exactly. But I think this team is realizing with the move of AJ Brown being traded, Derrick Henry, missing a couple games last year. And by the way, in that stretch, they went 6-3, which is very interesting, because I didn't really think about this until I was actually doing this take.
It was mainly their defense that held them together.
They went to the playoffs hoping that the King would be back. He was back. But it was like, well, you know what? We can actually use some other people. We can do it without him. Before it was like, damn, we're giving him 300 plus touches. He was breaking records. He was doing everything. But now they bring in Hassan Haskins in the 4th round, and he's a guy that can be, I guess I call him Little Henry. He's able and capable of taking the 200 plus attempts if they wanted to give that to him. Okay, in 2021, this past year, his last season in college in Michigan, 270 attempts, over 1,300 yards, 20 touchdowns. 20 touchdowns. That's some Derrick Henry numbers. Derrick Henry probably would have put up some more yardage because my guy was breaking like 2,000 every single year, it felt like. But I think that's amazing. This is a guy that can take over the workload. Not saying that he's going to get the workload, but this is more of a futuristic play, okay? And let me remind you that Derrick Henry contract is up after the 2023 season. So are they going to re-sign a 28, 29-year-old running back, or are they going to move forward with Hassan Haskins? And granted, I'm not saying that they're not going to even draft a running back next year or after 2023, So this is just maybe a 1-year play. Maybe they like him, and maybe he does break out in 2023 or as a backup. And I think that's his upside. Once again, he is a workhorse guy. He is able. They want a guy that can take in the workload. Okay, maybe that's what they're looking for. He also has great hands. He's a great physical downhill runner, and once again, he is a real workhorse of a running back. So I am really comfortable in investing in Hassan Haskins, and a guy that I believe could take the crown. I mean, that's a little ambitious. I can't say take the crown,
I'm struggling because you're like calling him.
I know. I'm calling like Little King. I'm not comparing
saying
him.
He can handle like
that's
300 touches.
I'm not comparing
crown.
him. I'm not saying he can even handle 300 touches.
This wasn't even a top 20 running back talent wise.
Yeah,
when I scouted him,
and that's the same thing with me. But it's the opportunity. Okay, I'm not saying he can take 300 plus touches like Henry. I'm saying he got 220 touches in college. Maybe can be a little bit more realistic to get 210. Okay. 210, 230 carries a game if they are a season, if they really wanted to use him in that way after Derrick Henry. Not with Derrick Henry. This is after. If he goes down, if he's able, if something happens to Derrick Henry. So that's my thought process. And I don't think you have to waste any pick compensation or anything. Currently right now in rookie drafts, he's going to mid to late 3rd round. I think that feels really comfortable for me. In Dynasty startups, he went in our past Dynasty startup that we just did with our Charlie League. He went at the 17-9. That's nothing. That's a nothing pick, it feels like. And then in trades, once again, in the 3rd round, 4th round, you can definitely get him. This is a long run approach. I'm not saying this is what this is going to happen immediately, but this is probably a long game. Maybe in 2023 when they say, Derrick Henry is not the same anymore, if he's not the same, because the decline is going to happen. Okay?
Yeah.
So why not take a shot on someone like Hassan Haskins? So that's my thought process.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's interesting to me because he becomes the automatic backup. But the only way the only way that he's even relevant is if he just fills in for Derrick Henry. I mean, I just view him as the Deonta Foreman role. He's not the future. I don't think he's all that talented. So that's why I was struggling. Like you're calling him like little Derrick Henry.
I wasn't. Yeah, I didn't mean to call him little Derrick Henry.
What are we talking about?
I think it was when I was looking at his stats and when I was looking at the approach of why they drafted him. It was because he was a guy that can handle 250 plus attempts, and not saying that everyone can't do that, but he was getting the workload. He was a part of why they were so successful there in Michigan. And that's what maybe they want They want that attribute, just like Derrick Henry, to continue after he does leave. So we'll see.
Okay.
I mean, I am seeing this team change,
And
but it's just a little hint of what
I think he's really good
seeing.
for like if Henry goes down, but if Henry does move on at some point, they're going to draft someone else.
Yeah, 100%.
Sure.
I agree with that as well.
All right, my next handcuff is Tyrion Davis-Price. Again, this is not an anti-Mitchell take, just like my Brian Robinson was not an anti-Gibson take.
Mm-hmm.
But the real issue here with Tyrion Davis-Price for me is that I just don't trust Kyle Shanahan. I have trust issues with Kyle Shanahan. I need a Drake song to play right now. The reality is Elijah Mitchell might have won the job, but what does that mean? Like I think right now I feel confident with Mitchell going in this season, but I'm also extremely scared because of how Kyle Shanahan has handled the running back room. Not only did he draft another running back, he did it in the 3rd round. And this is a team that did not have a lot of draft capital. So that was a very important pick for them. They decided to go running back when they already drafted 2 last year. So strange to me. But I mean, let's look at this. Since Kyle was hired in 2017 to be the head coach for the 49ers, he has cycled through so many running backs, all right? Elijah Mitchell, Jeff Wilson, Raheem Mostert, Jermichael Hasty, Tevin Coleman, Jerick McKinnon, Matt Breida, Carlos Hyde, and now Tyrion Davis-Price. There's other running backs in there that I just didn't want to name. But even if you look at historically, the snap percentages that have been given out to a offense that is run by Kyle Shanahan, no one is ever getting the workload. I mean, it's never really over a 55% workload for any running back.
Right.
And Kyle loves to cycle in players into this backfield. And at the end of the day, that just scares me. I own Elijah Mitchell in leagues, and I don't think anyone could actually sit here and say if they own Mitchell that they're not slightly worried at minimum, because you should be, because I definitely feel that way and I own him. Next, let's talk about the team identity and maybe why it's a little bit more of a relief to own Mitchell, but also why we could see Tyrion get a big role. And honestly, this team runs their entire offense through the ground. This team is a run-focused team. In 2021, they had the 6th most rushing attempts per game. Does Debo come back? Probably. If he doesn't, I mean, there's even more rushing attempts opening up in this offense. But with the modern-day NFL continually splitting backfields, it is important to put value on a guy like Davis-Price.
Mm-hmm.
So if we look at his upside, as far as a talent, I told Badake about him about a month before the draft. I was like, hey, there's this guy that I'm actually really intrigued by, Tyrion Davis-Price. Watch his film. Really intrigued me, and there's a couple reasons why. I mean, firstly, he was my 10th ranked running back when it came to my scouting grade. So as a talent, I saw him as the 10th most talented running back in the class. He was a 4-star recruit, definitely not a generational talent, but I enjoyed watching his film. And there were 4 things that stuck out to me in particular. Number 1, he just runs angry. Every run. He's not taking a run off, which, by the way, who do we say last year did that? Trey Sermon. He was a very moody runner. But Tyrion Davis-Price is an angry runner. He fights for extra yards, gets the most out of every touch, runs better with volume, and has a workhorse build. So this is a running back where if there's an injury to Elijah Mitchell, or potentially, if Elijah Mitchell does have some fumbling issues, or if he's struggling to pass protect, who knows what it could be in this offense, you could see Tyrion Davis-Price really get an opportunity. And if Mitchell does miss time with an injury, we're talking about top 24 upside here each week that Mitchell is gone for Tyrion Davis-Price. So what should it cost to trade for him or to draft him in rookie drafts? I'm pretty happy to give a mid-third.
Okay.
Mid to late 3rd round feels like what he should cost in a rookie draft. Right. In startup drafts, I expect him to go around 13 to 14. So I would not let him pass beyond that if you do have Mitchell. And in trades, again, just like Brian Robinson, a mid-3rd round should probably get the job done. You shouldn't be paying much more than that. So Tyrion Davis-Price, again, someone who really intrigues me. Do I think he's going to absolutely take over the league? No, but I liked his attributes. I understand why they drafted him for his attributes, and I just don't trust Kyle. So if I have Elijah Mitchell, I would actually argue that Tyrion Davis-Price is maybe the most important handcuff of any running back this year.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, this is a guy I was trying to target in our Dynasty start. I wasn't able to get him, but it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen with Mitchell and Price. All right, my last and final handcuff for this video here is Zamir White. And when I was looking for another guy, and I was like, what's changing in NFL? Who's going to get opportunity? Obviously, we're always thinking about opportunity as well. And there was 3 reasons why I believe you should consider Zamir White. He was drafted by the Las Vegas Raiders in the 4th pick, 4th round, 122 pick in the NFL draft. So number 1, future opportunity. With the Raiders not picking, Josh Jacobs' 5th-year option, and this is all very hypothetical. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but there's always an if. In fantasy, there's always an if. In the NFL, what if they do not re-sign Josh Jacobs? Zamir White automatically steps up to that role, whether that's for the year, whether that is for however long they don't have Josh Jacobs for, or because I do believe they probably will draft a running back after.
Can I say one thing that literally just came to my mind? If Josh Jacobs does not re-sign, Damian Harris is a free agent. So I just want to throw that out there. Yeah. I don't know if I'm speaking anything into existence. I think JJ will sign, but anyway, it just popped in my head. Go ahead. Sorry.
So that is the future opportunity for Zamir if that does not happen. Once again, this is a long play. This is not in 2020 and probably in 2023. Number 2, the NFL is changing. Zach and I have been saying for the longest in the offseason that the backfield, every single backfield in the NFL is changing. I mean, I would say more than half of the teams are a running back by committee, and I will not be surprised if that happens here with the Las Vegas Raiders. And number 3, I think is the biggest one, is Josh McDaniels. This is the man that never likes to use just one running back. I don't know, and we're going to see this for the first time. I mean, at least for me, in my thought process, because I was really trying to break it down. I was like, damn, was it Bill or Josh McDaniels? Because Josh McDaniels was calling the plays. But it's going to be a real vision now to see.
I think the real answer to that question would have been to look at what Josh did in Denver. No, but I don't have that in front of me.
And I was trying to find that, but I think it was too far back. Because
for our stats.
Yeah, for the stats.
Okay.
Anyway, so besides the point, when I was looking at Josh McDaniels just this past year with the Patriots, there was 5. He used 5 running backs in one season. I can go to multiple years where there was multiple running backs used, but just this past season, 5 running backs that got a share. And mind you, Damian Harris was a lead back, and he only missed 2 games. So what does that tell you? That means he likes to use a running back in a rotation. He likes to use a running back, and I don't know if Josh Jacobs is going to be, the 100%, opportunity. 90% opportunity, 80% opportunity. No
one gets that much though.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying.
I see a 70%.
That's what I'm saying. And that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that he is going to lose all of his work. I'm saying he is going to take a hit. And what does that hit look like? Like you said, 70-30, 60-40 potentially. It really depends on how much they want to give to Zamir White. But let's remember who Zamir White is. He was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school. He did tear his ACL twice in back-to-back years in both of his legs, 2017 and 2018. And then, he had a lot of calls, a lot of offers going to high schools. He was going to Alabama, if I'm not mistaken. He wanted to do all these opportunities. He tore his ACL. But he was the man. He was going to be the highest run. He was projected at the time to be the number 1 overall running back going in the 2022 class. Okay? Obviously, things changed. He went to Georgia. He was behind Swifty for a little bit, and then James Cook comes in. They used to call the man Zeus. I mean,
they still do. They still
call him that. He is an angry runner, okay? He knows how to handle the workload. He knows how to punch it in the hole. And he's just like, in my opinion, a smaller Josh Jacobs. Maybe a similar build, but I think he can. When I say a smaller Josh Jacobs runs angry. He is strong.
Yeah.
And I see that in Zamir White. So maybe they want a 1-2 punch with Zamir and Josh Jacobs. That's just an opportunity for you guys to look into when you're doing your drafts. So where should you get him? Mid to late 3rd round. That's where I see him going in our leagues a lot, in our rookie mock drafts. And that's where I feel comfortable taking him in a dynasty startup. Our past one in the Charlie League, he went in the 12-10. So if you have Josh Jacobs, why not handcuff Zamir White and get an opportunity? And then obviously if you want to trade for him, see what we can do with a 3rd or 4th round. Throw a couple options out there if you like.
Yeah. Zamir's super interesting. I felt like they were going to use him like the Ramondre role, but he's not a very good pass catcher. So I'm very curious to see what it looks like. I would say if Jacobs does miss time, then yeah, Zamir has especially in that offense, he's got some opportunity. So even for the sake of if Jacobs gets injured, then Zamir's worth having. And I think just to clarify at the end of this video, I don't think there's a running back on this list that I think is a future NFL star.
Correct.
Just to clarify.
Correct.
I don't think there's anyone on this list that is going to finish top 12 as a fantasy running back ever. But I think it's important because if you're fighting for a championship and your Josh Jacobs goes down when you're in the playoffs, you need Zamir White. If Antonio Gibson goes down in the playoffs, you need Brian Robinson. So that's why the video was made. I hope it's helpful. Comment down below. Let us know what your thoughts are on these handcuffs and who you think should be the most important rookie handcuff.
Yo, what's good? Thanks for watching. We got a lot more videos.
A lot more.
If you want more videos.
Watch
now,
it.
You can also subscribe.
Right now.
If you want to.
You need to.
And lastly, don't forget that you can sign up to support the show and get exclusive content by going to patreon.com/FantasyLandFam.